So I like the call out though of it. It's their lens of interpretation. Forever ago, I haven't talked about this in a long time, but I used to work in sales training at HubSpot, the company I was at. And one of the things that we used to do in our original, like maybe 3 or 4 days of sales training was we brought up this slide. There's this woman with a magnifying glass and she was leaning super heavily into like the graphic, right into the picture. And so in the room, it felt like this giant face with a magnifying glass. And I'd always say, well, what does this mean? And it's fun to listen to sales reps because their comments are really interesting. And I was a sales rep, so I could relate. But what it came down to, and I wanted them to discover, was it was about her lens of interpretation. When you're talking to your prospect, when you're talking to your customer, it's how they perceive what you're saying, not what you're actually saying, so much as being very intentional around the language you use and the way you can, convey the message and such. You're talking about doing the same thing. You're saying, I know that this sales team needs to perform, wants to win, wants to be highlighted for that win, obviously wants to have leverage in that opportunity so that they can do more with less, or they can even just get more lift from their same effort. It matters. So all of that interpretation is super valuable because now you're giving them value, but, motivating on the basis of what you're trying to achieve, which is to drive more adoption of the partner ecosystem and better outreach and better success. So I think that's absolutely brilliant. I'm curious how you translate that to other departments, because obviously we've got 3 others here that we're talking about.
Yeah, 100%. I think to merge into the other department, I think I'd take one small note that we have a Dixa Win channel in our Slack. This, of course, is the place where you showcase all the new deals, all the expansions and the renewals and things like that. There's always an opportunity there, or let's say lifetime partner kickbacks that get recognized as ARR, which we can get into a little bit later. But this is the place where you have the C-suites all the way down to the first year, professionals and millions of emojis, right? This is where you want to be. And so anytime there's a partner source deal because a rep collaborated, partner influence, or anything that has to do with partners, I give 100% of the credits to the reps for using the partnerships as a tool and strategy for their own individual success.
That's smart.
I don't want that credit. My long-term win and value is driving that FOMO from the champions that I've helped coach, so that there's the other reps kind of going, oh shit, I want to be part of this. What do I need to do to be a part of that?
It's brilliant. I love the fact that it's there's like a social dynamic around it, right? So you're in a company, everyone wants to look good to their peers and their bosses, and the whole dynamic of just human to human interaction, people helping people. You're saying if I can make them better, empower them to do more, it really matters because the outcome is, it's sort of like the sum of our parts, right? We're greater than the individual if we do that. How do you go to marketing? Exactly. How do you go to CS? Like, I want to use the last couple of minutes we have here to talk about that so we can frame out those opportunities too. You've won in sales in this example, right? You're getting adoption. You're continuing to highlight it. I think that's really important to highlight the wins piece and make it about them, not about you. So now the partner traction is beginning. How do you build, the flywheel, if you will, the other parts of those mechanisms to really build the machine of partners within the business?
So marketing for me, it was interesting, but it wasn't as interesting as account management and post sales. But I did move over to marketing next. I think we picked up some early data points to show that if we did co-marketing with partners, it produced 30 to 40% more successful marketing metrics. So I really bandwagoned on the sales success of going, listen, we have industry stats, not from within the Dixa company, but from, let's say, the partnership field and the more mature partner organization, that better win rates and higher contract values, accelerated win rate, like sales cycles. But you need those internal stats, right? But because I was able to build on the sales type of metrics, people started to believe, okay, then the marketing metrics probably are also likely to be true. Let's just start building the data now internally for ourselves.
That's great.
So I think the post-sale side is where you get really into the juicy bits, because as a partner professional, as you probably know, Barrett, that gold mine of getting access to your own customer base and to send it over to your partner ecosystem, we all understand, I believe everyone that might be listening, the massive win-win-win, right? Intros go out, maybe you get some kickbacks, you get better retention rates, and the increased likelihood that you also get intros back into your sales department. But I had a lot of trouble initially trying to convince my account management team on, well, they're revenue focused, right? it's the CSM's interest for retention and health of accounts, which partners can primarily support on. So how do I get the account managers to listen to me so I can kickstart that initial momentum of the give to get with my partner program? So what I decided to do with the C-suite was say, let's try something here. Let's select 4 or 5 more strategic partners and get to an agreement of a lifetime revenue share of, let's say, 15 to 20%. And let's start getting comfortable with spotting opportunities where we can help our customer base, send an introduction, an AM sends an introduction to a partner. If they close for $100,000 with the partner and we have a 20% lifetime rev share, then not only is that $20,000 going to be logged as company ARR, but the rep who made the introduction will also get $20,000 of quota relief.
That's smart. Yep.
You take that approach, your account managers, as well as the account executives, but in this case, the account managers are there listening. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Because they have their own targets. And then they go, oof, I have a few hundred customers here that I'm now looking at quite differently, as opposed to just expansion from our internal product or renewal, let's say, opportunities. So why I was so excited about getting this momentum with the account management team was because that lifetime revenue kickback, while that might have been the start of a third revenue channel for the company, that's not my primary motive. My primary motive is that was the Kickstarter to show that momentum of if we give intros out to the partner ecosystem, you're going to see a correlation in getting intros back. Because not all of your partners are going to be interested in doing lifetime agreements. Some won't do kickbacks. Some might do first year only, but then you can't recognize it as ARR. But if you use that as a Kickstarter, I've now shown enough data internally to go, listen, 20 intros out equals 15 intros back. So now all future partners don't need that lifetime agreement. People are motivated just to collaborate with partners because, there's some cool momentum going.
It's fascinating. It's such a simple concept in terms of listening to both what your team needs and how the partner can facilitate that outcome, but also being mindful of how the incentives themselves need to align, the vectors of both teams, and being very strategic, it sounds like, and a student of the math in many ways, to invest in understanding the KPIs to be able to then go back and report on it. I know it sounds simple. I've talked about it before on the show. I can't tell you how many folks I have conversations with that say, well, what do you track? What do you measure? And it's like, well, everything you possibly can. And then look for the correlation between the inputs and the outputs. And you're talking about saying, we spent a little cash here, but we got a better, more engaged partner base to kick off. The early adopters are key. And now our AM team is now paying attention more specifically and proactively looking for opportunities to bring those two machines together. It's brilliant. This has been fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing your insights that you did. If folks want to reach out, they want to get in touch, how do they find you on the internet and engage?
I think there's 2 Maurits Piepers in the world. So just search Maurits Pieper on LinkedIn and you'll find me.
Perfect.
That's essentially the best way to do it.
I love it. We'll tag you in the show notes, obviously. So if folks want to reach out, they certainly can. Now, it's been fun. I really appreciate your insights. Thank you again for certainly joining the show. And for those of you that have checked us out again, as always, appreciate your following, liking, subscribing, commenting, all that good stuff. Feedback is always welcome. And again, this has been Outcomes. I'm your host, Barrett King. Mal, thanks again. Take care.
Barrett, thanks for having me.